Next week, we will have in-person training at each of the sites listed currently on your screen. For those in Jefferson City and Kansas City, you will attend the training that is listed for those communities. For those who are in St. Louis or planning to attend in St. Louis, you will attend the date based upon your response to us. At this point in time, we do not intend to send back out a sheet confirming locations for individuals. However, if we happen to have a lot of comments about it today, a chat box, then we could send that out again. But at this point in time, just plan to attend for the site which you emailed and submitted a question. I would also like to remind individuals that on the resource website that is shared each week with you, you'll find information to be put out for next week's meeting. If you would like copies of the presentations, we encourage you to print the presentation titled Benefits 101 PowerPoint, as well as information on SSDI, Transition to Work, and Ticket to Work Payments at a Glance, and Social Security Disability Insurance Tracking Record. We're providing handouts of the agenda for individuals, as well as each of the scenarios for Title II benefits and scenarios. We will also be providing an evaluation form, as well as the post-test to major increased losses webinar series. As a housekeeping reminder, if you are having technical issues with audio, please post those in the chat box. If you have questions about the content, please post those in the Q&A box. At this point in time, I will turn it over to Ashley.
Thank you. Happy Monday, everyone, and thank you for clicking in for our last and final webinar series. It's hard that this is our 5th week together, so I am excited for all of you to attend the on-site training and really start applying some of the information that you're learning today. Our 5th and final webinar series is verifying, reporting, and applying the information that you've learned. So really taking everything that's been webinars 1 through 4, and now what do I do with the information? And so we'll talk about that today and for your on-site training. So let's dive into our content today. We're going to first talk about verifying benefits. How do we do that? I also want to be really clear that when we're talking about verifying benefits, that's not necessarily something that you have to feel comfortable doing yet. I just want you to know the importance of verifying that information and also where you can refer to make sure that folks do have that information verified. And that's about how to report wages, right? So as any employment professional, one of our biggest responsibilities is supporting folks to know that they need to report their wages once they obtain employment to the Security Administration. And so for each particular benefit, Title II as well as SSI, we're going to talk about how you report those and when. And then finally, we're going to pull it all together and what do we do with this information. Now that I have this information, now that I have this awareness, what is the responsibility? What do I do with this information? What conversations do I have? And so we'll sift through that information, and then hopefully we'll also have some time for questions here, there, and in between as well. So into verifying benefits, one of the pieces that's really important is that we're providing accurate information, right? Through each webinar series, we've talked about the myths that are associated with receiving benefits and working. And so some of the times that how we perpetuate those myths is because we don't have accurate information as far as what benefit an individual is receiving. So in order to provide certified benefits planning, not you all are doing, but at a certified level, it's required that we confirm what benefits folks are receiving. And Security Administration has what they call a benefits planning query, or a BPQY, because we love acronyms in our line of work. So most often you're going to hear of this report as the BPQY. And so if you're working with a certified benefits planner through your WIPA project, you're going to be requesting that BPQY. And if you feel like with some more training and information, and after spending some time with Janet next week that you feel like you can do that, fantastic. But also it takes skills as far as reading that BPQY as well. So it's oftentimes a, excuse me, I'm coming a bit of getting over a cold. So I probably need to take a break for a second. But with the BPQY, someone would request their BPQY. And then in that report is going to be 1-2 pages long, depending upon how much information has been collected on that individual. But it's going to highlight what benefits is this person receiving, and did become entitled to that benefit. It's going to include, do they receive Medicare or Medicaid? And specifically in different states, that might look a little bit different based on their Medicaid rules. And medical review. So remember, we talked way back in the beginning that you have to have medical reviews, right? So that's going to be listed on that BPQY, whether or not they have a payee, their last review date for the work review, and their work history. So report earnings are going to be listed on that report as well. So it's kind of a synopsis of where this person is at. How I really want to point you to know that the information on there is only what Social Security Administration has been given, particularly in reviewing somebody's work history. So if someone hasn't been reporting their work history and you were to look at a BPQY and tells you, yeah, I've been working, or I worked from 2005 to 2010, you don't see any of that listed, that means they may not have reported it, right? Or for a certain period of time. So that report only captures what has been given to Social Security Administration, if that makes sense. So a couple things when it comes to requesting a BPQY. Anyone who is a beneficiary, so if I receive a Title II benefit or if I receive SSI, I can go in and request or call and request for my own BPQY. And again, that I'm using it for, I meet with a benefits planner and we talk about work and my benefits. The person does have to have information as far as knowing I am my BPQY. This is when we're requesting it. You could also, as the employment support, call in on the same line so that you can help coach that person through the conversation. But an individual can access that on their own. And they can call the national toll-free number that is listed below. Another, which is probably what happens, I think, more frequently, is to have your WIPA project or your Work Incentive Planning and Assistance project, which we're going to talk about where yours are located here at the end of our webinar. But if you contact your WIPA project where certified benefits planners are, or if you're working with one of your local IPS projects, they're calling and requesting for BPQYs as well. And so what that is, I would go access my WIPA project. Maybe you help refer me to the WIPA project, and I'm going to have to sign 2 releases of information. And they look identical. Folks need to sign both of those forms. And so those are called the 3288 release of information forms when they're requesting the BPQY. And so it gives consent, they can share that information with your office to receive the BPQY. And so as employment professionals, if you're supporting individuals to be referred to WIPA, so say you're not providing certified benefits planning, but you know because of this webinar series, hey, this person absolutely needs benefits planning, they have a work goal, I've referred them to the WIPA project, and the WIPA project said, great, here are 2 pieces of paper that need to be filled out, the releases of information. As the employment support helps know that yes, you need to have both of those signed. They look identical. I've seen people just sign one instead of signing both. They have to sign both. So even if you can help that process along and encourage folks to get signed and turned in as quickly as possible, that's going to help that certified benefits planner be able to collect that BPQY faster and in turn deliver more accurate information to the individual based on receiving that report, because it's really hard to provide intensive benefit planning service without that documentation, right? So again, if you're using the projects, if you're utilizing an IPS project, going to be asking for that BPQY and then getting those two pieces of authorization signed. So that's kind of the gist of the BPQY. If you access the Red Book online, an example of benefits query, and so as you can see just in this quick little example, on the left-hand side it dictates what the topic is, and then the middle column is for Social Security Disability Insurance, or on the right is SSI. And so, example, you can see when the person becomes entitled to benefits, their onset of disability, and then currently receiving a check. And then it lists out the specific amount that this individual is receiving. So the intent for you going through this webinar series is not that you need to be requesting BPQY for everybody that you are working with, but know that this is part of the process and part of the process for delivering certified work incentive counseling and information. Any in regards to the BPQY before we start talking about reporting wages? Richard, question, is there a danger for an individual requesting this info too often? I don't think so. I've never worked with anyone who has requested too often. So that's not in my experience, no. I mean, I suppose if they're calling every couple of weeks, that wouldn't really be intense. But as long, folks are usually asking for them if they want to capture information and they're working with a certified benefits planner, they should probably only request them once and then say, they are looking kind of where they're at with their trial work periods or such, then maybe 6 months later they request a new one. But good question. Great. All right. Talk about reporting earnings. If you walk away with one thing during our time together, I want to know you cannot assume people know how, when, or why to report their earnings. So you can't assume that folks know that they have to report their earnings to Social Security Administration. The number one reason folks get themselves in a payback situation. So learned from as a very early job developer, I had no idea folks had to report their earnings. And so I very much remember a call where a parent, a payee, is what had called my CEO and said, I had no idea I was supposed to report my son's earnings to Social Security Administration, and now we have payback 4 months later. So again, within whatever position you hold, and if you are supporting any beneficiary who is pursuing employment, please, please, please share them that they do have a responsibility when they begin working to report those earnings. And it's not a scary process. You can share with them the various reasons of or ways to report, but being a beneficiary of this benefit comes the responsibility of when I go to work, when I have wages or earnings come in, my responsibility is to report. So why folks need to report? Well, one, because it's part of their responsibility. As a beneficiary of this benefit, my responsibility is to report. So, but beneficiaries are often unsure of what I'm supposed to report and when. Because when I become entitled to a benefit, I may receive a pamphlet of information that walks over reporting. My SSA claims rep, may say something about reporting. But oftentimes I may have a lot of fear and anxiety in regards to those meetings. It's kind of a doctor, he tells you 100% of information, but maybe you walk away with 25%, right? The idea is that also can be partners and encouragers of sitting down with folks at various times throughout the employment continuum and talk about the importance of reporting. So if you're a job developer and you're supporting Joe and he just got a job, well, Joe, you know, I remember that you receive SSI. I just want to remind you, now that you've got that job, one of your responsibilities is to contact the Social Security Administration to let them know the great news that you got a job. Is that something that you're comfortable doing? Is that something that you could follow up with your payee on? Or is that something that you would like some assistance or support with? But if we support to fail to report, that absolutely will result in an overpayment. And then a big scary letter that says you've been overpaid and you owe us money. And so in some scenarios, it's going to avoid an overpayment ever. However, if we support folks to go 6 months to a year without reporting, it really hurts folks, right? So the largest overpayment I have heard of is $170,000. So we can't let folks get to that, right? I mean, that's massive. But so failure to report causes more benefits problems than any other single issue. And that's from VCU, the National Training Center around this stuff. So the report stuff is serious. So again, even if this is the only thing you take away from webinars is I have to help people report or to know their responsibility in reporting, that's because it saves folks from the fear and anxiety of dealing with over-reporting. It's huge, huge. So we're going to break up into Title II and SSI and specifically talk about reporting for each benefit. So I want to remind you, remember that Title II and SSI, they live in very separate rooms. They are within the House of Social Security Administration, but these are two very, very different benefits. So I want you to close the door to SSI, and I want you to open the door to Title II, and we'll talk about the specifics around Title II reporting. So Title II, remember it's an insurance benefit, right? It is paid into the system in order for me to receive this benefit, whether it's myself, my parent, or my spouse. One to remind us all of is that within Title II, remember, it's all or nothing. I either get my check or I don't, and there's some specific safety nets or work incentives that provide protection, right? So that trial work period and the period of eligibility. So why is this important to remember? Because Title II, when it comes time to report, I want you to pay attention to the period when they begin to have SGA level work. Those are red flags of when we need to support folks to report, okay? So I can confirm that someone's receiving a Title II benefit. So for example, it may be a conversation with Joe. Joe says, yep, Ashley, I'm receiving $820 and I receive one check a month. Well, that's going to tell you that they're most likely receiving a Title II benefit because you remember that the federal benefit rate is $750. So if their check is above that, it has to be a Title II benefit. You know that when Joe gets a job, when you obtain a job, when it starts, or when you get a wage increase or a raise, you need to contact your claims rep, Social Security Administration, and let them know, hey, great news. I received this is when I start, this is how much I'm making, this is my average number of hours I anticipate to work per month. And then if I lose my job, I also want to contact Social Security Administration, or if I'm going to have a wage increase. Now, Title II, if I have the completion of my trial work period, which you are not going to know where folks are in the continuum of their trial work period, okay? Because you need to request a benefits plan inquiry. You'd have to really confirm where they're at in that continuum, which is way too much of you. But if you're working with a certified benefits planner, you might have an idea. The idea is that if I'm at trial work level, so if someone's in that trial work level, I'd make sure that that SSA knows I'm around that mark, right? Or if I'm right around substantial gainful activity as well. I want to make sure that I'm contacting Social Security Administration to know. And the why, remember? So it's all or nothing. So if I'm at SGA level work and I'm not supposed to be receiving a check because I'm making over SGA, Security Administration, no, right? Otherwise, that's how folks are going to get into that payback scenario. So you need to suspend or reinstate payments during the EPE. You also want to make sure that folks are reporting. So we Title II some notes to take away as far as reporting. I'm not going to have to report every month. I need to report when I get the job, when it stops, or when I have a wage increase. And particularly if I'm going to be around the completion of my work period or when I hit SG level work, right? So I might have a job offer, but maybe I'm making $600 a month. Well, great. Social Security wants to know, okay, Joe's working at $600 a month, but that's going to impact my benefit because he's nowhere near right now. However, if he gets bumped up and he now has a full-time job making $2,000 a month, that's a different conversation, and then he's going to hit SGA, and then his check is going to stop, right? So really, really encourage folks to make sure that they're reporting their wages. I report my earnings. So these PowerPoints are all yours, so you can just maybe print out this one page, and you could share it with folks. And so they're required to report any new work activity. They can call 1-800 number and just work report. They also travel to their local office and let them know that they're working. And then again, make sure that they have information of what are my wages, how often am I working, so that they have that information with them. But what I want you to also know is encourage folks to ask for a receipt, because if for any reason that wage didn't get adjudicated, if they didn't confirm that, and oh, well, gee, Joe, you didn't report, but Joe did, he has proof. So encourage folks, part of your reporting practice, always ask for a receipt, okay? And excuse me, SSA will conduct a what they call a work activity review, if the trial work period is going to be used or if activity is above SGA. And so the work activity report will just come in the mail, and then it just asks folks some questions about work and such, okay? So again, earning is expected to cause the use of a trial work period or hit SSA wants to know about that. And the work activity report, what that's going to do. So say I call and I say, hey, I'm working and my wages are at $2,000 a month. So I'm at SGA and above, right? That triggers Social Security Administration to send what they call the work activity report, and the 820 and 821 is just what they call those forms. What the report does is it asks for what are his monthly earnings, who is his employer, his wage, date of hire. They're going to ask some prodding questions around, do you receive extra support at work? Do you be out of pocket for any expenses? And what are they doing? They're poking around to see, does this person have any work incentives that they could utilize, right? So that is already asking those questions as well. So SSA will send a letter summarizing the review of that work activity. So what they're looking at is this person using any trial work period months? Have they started their EPE? Are there any work incentives that may be applicable for this person? So the intent of the work activity report is not intended to be scary. It's a way of asking for some accurate information and kind of where you're at in your continuum of work. So, to Title II reporting, and we're going to open the door to SSI reporting, right? So SSI is a little bit different, remember? As a needs-based benefit. I have to have a financial need and have limited wage and limited resources in order for me to receive the SSI benefit, right? So with that, because it's a needs-based benefit, I report any income that's my way, because needs-based. So if I have more money coming from somewhere else, essentially I should have less SSI, right? Because it is much. So it's not just wages that have to report it. Any change in my income, I have a responsibility to let SSA know. Excuse me. For there's S's, right? So for the Social Security Administration is going to want more regular reporting from an SSI beneficiary as opposed to Title II, right? Because that information is a needs-based benefit, right? So it depends on your SSA claims rep in their office, but oftentimes, so Joe gets a job, he contacts his SSA claims rep, I got the job, here's how much I'm working, here's my wage. And then SSA is oftentimes going to want to estimate that over the course of the year as opposed to monthly wage reporting. Now, I not work specifically with the Missouri reporting office, so it would be good for you to check if they monthly wage reporting. But oftentimes, if you have monthly wage reporting, it's going to cause your SSI check to fluctuate more regularly. So remember that SSA is 2 months behind. So if I'm getting paid in January, I'm not going to see that reflect on my check until March. So to make life easier for the Social Security Administration, they are going to estimate what those monthly wages are going to be so that they give a consistent check to the and then at the end of the year they're going to settle up, and so they may owe money to the individual, or in turn the person may owe them back. But you want to think about that when you're providing those estimates. So again, they're also going to evaluate the person's eligibility and the cash benefit amount each month, because remember, it's a needs-based benefit. The only name is welfare. So SA is going to evaluate this person still meets the requirements each month for SSI. So limited resources and limited wait. A point to remember with SSI is that folks have to report by the 10th of the following month. Okay, so by the 10th following month. So if you're supporting Joe and he just gets a job, an SSI beneficiary, help him to put his calendar, okay, by the 10th of every month, particularly if he doesn't have support from a payee, that he's making sure he's reporting those regularly. So earnings in January, again, are used to determine the SSI check in March, right? So we just went over that. And again, if folks are not reporting, they're going to have an overpayment. So it's absolutely critical that folks are reporting often. Okay. So report. If I'm an SSI beneficiary, then I can take it to my local SSA office. I can also fax it into my SSA office. I could fill it in. Or there's an app. So there's an app for that, which is kind of cool, right? So if they have a smartphone, they can download the SSI app. So if you just go in to your app store and you type in an SSI app and reporting, the app will come up and folks can download it for free. But they're not work incentive. So it's very basic. They go in, they type in their social security number, they type in their gross wages, and they hit submit. But that has to be done by the 6th. So you can find this information just by clicking on the SSA.gov link. But by the 10th of the month for folks who receive SSI. Okay? Take a pause for questions. I feel like I'm talking way too fast today. So let's check our questions box. Philip, does earned income, such as monthly blind pension check, affect Title II? Question. I'm not entirely sure. Again, that's something I will certainly write down to look into. But with two, again, mostly it's an insurance benefit. So I don't think that it will impact it, but let me confirm that for sure. As regards to report when there is a wage increase, what about for individuals who work in sheltered workshops, whose wage can be basis? Sure. So for our in a sheltered workshop, they also have the responsibility to with their wages. So I've seen in many examples where have told folks you won't make enough to report. However, that's not true, right? So we still have to support folks, even if you're in a sheltered workshop, to make sure that folks are reporting. And if their wage is changing on a regular basis, that might be something you want to talk to your SSA claims rep to see if they want the person to report regularly, or if they still want to just estimate that out throughout the course of the year. And again, be specific to SSI. Again, with Title II, you would want to report when the person becomes, when they're receiving wages from the sheltered workshop, and again, if they're around that trial work level or substantial gainful activity. Estimating a monthly wage look different than reported actual monthly wages. Could that potentially cause an over or underpayment? Yes, it can. So estimating, again, just makes it easier for folks to estimate how much they're going to receive. So you would want to, if you're helping somebody estimate their earnings and say, on average, I make $500 a month to make it easier. So SSI only beneficiary, right? So if I'm just receiving SSI. So I would want to over per wages. So if on average I'm going to make $500, but there are 6 months out of the year where maybe I am picking up some extra hours for folks, I want to estimate higher so that at the end of the year I'm actually going to get a payback from SSA as opposed to me paying back in. So that is something that you would work through your SSA claims rep on. Again, SSA offices want to receive it monthly as opposed to estimating. So that would be something that you would want to support individual in contacting their SSA office. Oh, let's see. Ashley asking in regards to SSDI. Okay, let me pull my chat box here. Bear with me, folks. I can only small bit. Okay, so Ashley, let's go. Oh, in regards to reporting increase, what about for folks who work in? Okay, so for Title II, again, if trial work level, you're going to help folks make sure SSA knows that they're at trial work level, or SGA. If they're below trial work level or SGA, they just need to contact the SSA office one weekend working, or if they create those two areas. Okay. Does it be postmarked by the 10th, or do I need to assure that it gets in by then? One out if the 10th is on a holiday or a weekend. Great question. I am not sure. I would, by safety, I would just say try to get it in by the 10th. But let me confirm, and I will put that in my question box to make sure you all leave with that on a piece of paper, and it will be in the SharePoint folder where you found additional information. Great question. Excuse me. Sarah, when using app to report, you still need to mail or fax a copy of your pay stubs to verify. Again, good question. I don't, but I would always keep them handy, but let me double check. I've only supported 1 or 2 folks in using the app because most people just like to mail them in, but let me double check. Sheltered workshop, we report all on a monthly basis for SSI, but didn't know there's a way we could for all receiving SSDI. So great question, Ashley. So with SSDI, again, that monthly reporting isn't really required because it's an all or nothing benefit, right? So for Title II, again, just need to report when I obtain a job once it stops, or if I get a pay increase, then SSA no. But again, SSA is really just looking, is this person at trial work level? Are they SGA? If they're going to continue, it's all or nothing. So I keep sending the person their SSA check, okay? All right, 5-week month play to this, okay? So as far as is reporting, or also like if I make more that month, right? So great question, and that kind of opens up a bigger topic. So let's look at Title II for your example, Richard. So if I am working a 5-week month and that one extra paycheck that month, if it pushes me into substantial gainful activity, then contact my SSA claims rep, and they're going to based on when it is received. However, they can go in and break it out to when it was earned. And so if it was earned, then would pull me below SGA. That would be important to note, okay? So you're going to have to work with your SSA claims rep if that impacts the individual in that way. An SSI app able to report non-work income or just employment? Great question. I believe it is just employment. So it's very basic. You put in your social security number, you put in your gross wages. I will double check for sure. Questions, folks. All right, Amy. SSI, you may use estimate wages. This is for Title II, correct? Yes. So with SSI, you still want folks, they're still going to stop at the end of the year, right? Like they still need to know save pay stubs, but they're estimating so that their monthly check doesn't change every month. So going back to Title II, I'm not going to estimate them. I just need to let them know, hey, I'm working. This is how much money I'm making. And again, they're really looking at when wages stop, and is it around trial work level, or are they around substantial gainful activity? So questions, folks. All right, any other questions at this time? Looks like we have more. Megan, how does estimating a monthly wage look different than reported actual monthly wages? Could that potentially cause an over and an underpayment? Yes. So again, I think we answered that question. Yes, it certainly can. All right, so we're going to keep plugging away. All right, now to have this information, now what are you going to do with it? So how does this fit into your job? So I know that there's a variety of different positions joining us throughout the webinar series. So these are just in general recommendations of how to fit into your job. So one, bring the topic. Don't be afraid to talk about this. For example, if I'm with someone in job development, if I'm supporting them in any way, I might ask you a question, and I even preface it with, it might sound a little personal, but do you mind if I ask what benefits you receive, if any, or are you currently receiving any benefits, such as SSI or Social Security disability insurance, brings up the topic. And then oftentimes folks will say, oh yeah, I'm receiving SSI, or, yeah, I'm getting an SSA check. And you note, oh, an SA check. Well, it's either not, back from situation, but which benefit is it, right? So then you might start asking some probing questions around, well, do you know if you receive one check or two checks per month? And by the way, do you know how much that check is? So that you're getting some information around what benefit they might be receiving. And providing some basic information to folks that there is certified benefits planning available to them, that you absolutely can work and receive benefits, right? So again, if there's one thing that you took away today throughout the course of our time together, the work and receiving benefits is possible. The intent is to help people have more money in their pocket, not less, and work to their full potential and live a life outside of poverty. So just providing the information that, yes, you absolutely can work. On the topic, to the best of your ability, confirm what benefits an individual is receiving. So say, yes, I have never worked a day in my life. I'm receiving one check. I get it around the very beginning of the month, and it is $750. Boom. That this person is most likely receiving supplemental security income. They're receiving SSI, right? And so that's the next conversation point as well. I can only work part-time or I'm going to lose this benefit. Information is false. And you can start providing some basic information of saying, well, have you ever received any information specifically around work and your benefits? I would love to be able to sit down and provide more information to you. You also have to be aware that you can't brain dump information on folks, right? So it's kind of just planting the seed. It might become a conversation that we're talking about on a regular basis with this individual. And they say, well, yeah, no, that'd be great. I just remember that, I was talking to so-and-so who also receives a check from Social Security Administration, and they could only work part-time or they lose their benefit. And so the person might be receiving a Title II benefit. You have no idea, right? But misinformation is just rich. So be providing folks with that information. And then, for example, say the conversation gets real hairy, and you confirm that this person is receiving not one benefit, but two benefits. And they say, well, yeah, I get two checks in the mail. I get one for $3, I get another one for $420. And you go, oh, this person's a concurrent beneficiary. They're receiving both benefits, and I don't know what to do with that because they told me that they've also worked in the past. So no idea where they're at on the continuum benefits, but they're looking for a job. Okay, so then I know I need to get this person connected with certified benefits planning to help figure out and confirm exactly where this person is on their continuum of benefits. So at that point, you provide a referral to their Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Project, which you have 2 projects in Missouri that cover your entire state. So at that point, you want to start providing some information around referrals for folks and saying, I think it would be great for you to meet with a certified benefits planner. They're to tell you exactly how work is going to impact your benefits, and we walk you through that. So I would love to get you some information around referrals, and then, I'm happy to follow you through in that kind of process, right? So that when the benefits planner provides some information, they're also sharing that with you so that we're really working around a team, as a team in a holistic fashion, right? All to check in, right? So once someone gets a job, hey, when we talked about reporting, I just wanted to confirm that you're reporting those wages, or I noticed that you got a promotion at work in the last month. Let's talk about making sure that SSA knows about that promotion as well. So it's not a one and done conversation. This flows through our service delivery on a regular basis. And the more confident that you become in talking about the information, the more comfortable. So please just be open to having the conversation and never, ever, ever feel like you have all the answers. Just saying, did you know work and receiving benefits is possible? I'd love to connect you with someone who's certified in this stuff and get you more information so that you can really make an accurate decision, right? And just as I have through our webinar series, it's okay to say, I'm not sure, but I do know where to get the answers. So that's how we really stop those myths in case, and stop tracks is really by stopping and saying, I'm not sure, but I can also go check. So please know that that statement should be in your vocabulary comfortably when it comes to this stuff. So again, just fit in your job. So again, we kind of already covered this already, but providing that brief explanation of SSI and Title II, and just knowing that work incentives exist by letting individuals and families know SSI actually really wants to encourage people to work, and they've put in place some really cool work incentives now folks to save money and have more money in their pockets when they're pursuing work. So, the PASS plan, IRWs, helping folks have more money in their pocket, but they do have a work goal, and they do need to be spending that money on things that support them to work. So, and student income exclusion, there's great things in place. And topic of today, explain how to report those earnings. So don't make the early mistake that Ashley did as a job developer. Make sure that you're sitting down with individuals and their families multiple occasions and let them know, hey, it's so awesome. Congratulations that you got a job. I just want to remind you, because Joe receives SSI, he does need to report those earnings to Social Security Administration. Do you need more, can I help you get that information? Do you know who to contact? To make it really comfortable for folks. Providing some basic follow-up again. Right? Hey, I just wanted to make sure that you got those reportings, that you reported your earnings and you got in okay. Were you able to get the receipt? Let's make sure that you file that receipt away. So even if you're providing someone with residential services, this can also be part of your role in support and helping folks to get this information to Social Security Administration. And then understanding that this education is part of our work equation, right? So it's part of our responsibility as employment professionals that we are building this content into what we do. Because without it, folks are operating off myths. And we know that folks are in overpayments. We know that folks are limited to their potential to work because of the myth around benefits. And so the more education, the more training and information that we can support folks, the greater it is that folks will work. So even in my provider days, when we were offering certified benefits planning, and 1 year we saw that individuals on average increased the number of work by about 4 to 5 hours a week. Right? So people were working more based on the information that they were receiving. So this stuff matters significantly. And as provider organizations, I would really encourage you to start collecting. If you're not collecting data on folks that are working, I would highly encourage you to start for various reasons. But looking at what are wages and hours worked for this person, are they working, and that spreadsheet populate based on times a week, and then times seeing that by 4.3 to get that monthly look. And if you're swimming anywhere near trial work level or substantial gainful activity, flagging those folks and making sure that they get referred to the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Desk, or they are getting some sort of benefits planning and education because they're trial work level and substantial gainful activity. Another to track that Janice is going to talk to you guys is the Ticket to Work. And becoming an employment network and utilizing Ticket to Work, which trial work level and SGA are going to be very important in being an employment network. So again, just things to consider. You don't have to do all of these at once, but just things to consider. And then again, as if we were on the room, I would say raise your right hand and repeat after me. Never offer information unless you're absolutely certain it's accurate. And please, please, please don't ever feel uncomfortable saying, you know what, I need to go confirm that information, because no matter how long you've been practicing this stuff, it is standardized procedure to always go back and confirm information with your technical assistance expert using the PLANS, which is where all of that information lives. And when I provided you all with information, I'm pulling it straight from the PLANS, which is the operating management system for the rules that SSA claims reps go and look at when providing benefits information. So again, don't ever feel like you can't say, you know what, I'm just going to double make sure. Cool resources that you all have at your fingertips and you're going to learn about in these sites is the Miserability Benefits 101 site, or D101 as we like to call it. Tool for you to use that has the benefits and the work calculator, right? So remember all those equations and calculations we were working through? The D1 site is a calculator in there for you to allow you to really sit down with individuals and family members and punch in those numbers and walk folks through what that looks like. So this is a huge, huge resource that is not available in every state. So I commend you for having this as part of your service delivery. So please, please, please use this tool. Janet's also going to spend some time with you. So if you can bring your laptop. If you don't have one, that's okay. But if you do, bring it with you so that you can walk through those calculators during that on-site training. Do you refer? So we've talked throughout today's webinar that the referral to certified benefits planners is really important. How do you know when? So these are just some pointers, right? So if you're unable to identify the benefit type, so for example, if anyone who you're just unsure of what benefits they're receiving, can't out by those standards, nothing wrong with referring them. If anyone is considering self-employment or not your standardized wage employment, so a wage job where I'm making $8.50 an hour, make sure that those folks get referred to certified benefits planning, because there are some very specific rules around self-employment. It shouldn't hinder anybody from exploring self-employment, but just know that there are some really cool things, but some specific rules around self-employment. Wants to utilize a work incentive, or if you know that absolutely could benefit from utilizing an OE or a subsidy or a PASS plan, you really want to get those folks referred to your work incentive planning and assistance projects. Hands down, who has an overpayment, connect that with us so that they can help them walk through their payment. If they want to appeal the overpayment, please have folks referred. If they also have any questions about healthcare coverage or other health benefits, make sure you get referred. Anyone who is married or under 18 receiving SSI. So if I'm receiving SSI as a child, help me get connected to a work incentive planning and assistance project, particularly if I am looking to receive that as an adult as well. So those are just different. Also, if you're unsure if somebody's used their trial period, right, which can be right? It's going to be very hard for you to know whether or not someone's used a trial work period unless they come to you and they say, I just became entitled, I just started receiving this check 2 months ago, I have not worked a day in my life. Then that's a pretty good indication that they haven't used a trial work period, right? Because they just started receiving the benefit. However, if someone is a Title II beneficiary for 12 years and they're just coming to you for employment support, I would absolutely make sure they get referred so you can confirm where they're at on that continuum. And refer, right? There's nothing wrong with referring. You don't get your hand slapped for referring too often. You're just helping folks get more accurate information. So I refer to CNA, or Protection and advocacy is more entities that have WIPA grants, the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Project, which is what WIPA stands for. And they're going to support the northern part of your state. And if you have questions, this information straight website, contact the hunter in their application unit, and also going to be sent to the Ticket to Work helpline, which I believe if you call this number, that's where they go, and they kind of help some folks for the WIPA projects, because they're only, I don't know how many staff each of your projects have, but honestly, there are in some from 2 to maybe 5 individuals that cover the 250,000 people in your state that receive benefits. So these folks are overworked and underpaid, like all of it, but so they have to also have a triaging system, which Janet's going to talk to you about as well. So teases for your on-site next week. Your other WIPA entity is Paraquad. And so this information, again, is pulled right from their website. There are specific and areas that they've listed on their website that they support. So if you are one of the many, make sure that when you're providing referral and to Paraquad, that you're within these areas. And if you're in the north part of the state, then you want to access your Missouri PNA. So you have 2 entities that are there and available to help you. And again, that's providing certified benefits planning. So if we go back to this, and anyone that fits into these categories, you can refer them either to Missouri PNA or to Paraquad. Okay? All right, so that concludes our webinar. And just as a reminder that you all rock and you rule, the fact that you carved out an hour for 5 Mondays in a row to talk about this stuff and to listen in is huge. So I hope that you all have taken away 1 or 2 or 3 nuggets of information, and to most of all, this isn't all to overwhelm you, but to breathe. You've got this. You've got more information now than when you started. And so just by having a conversation, it's going to do wonders. So move on to questions. First, I also just want to point out here all of my resources, right? So I just want to point those out to you. And let's get to questions with our last 2 minutes. All right, we explain what the WIPA project is a little further. You bet. So WIPA stands for Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Project. It's a federal grant that each state can apply for their WIPA project. And so the WIPA project is specific to supporting beneficiaries with a work goal in getting accurate information around work incentive information, right? So each state applies for this grant federally and then is given a chunk of money to provide benefits planning within their state. However, it's a very small chunk of money that usually covers 2 to 4 staff. Again, it's based on your per capita in your state. So for example, in Iowa, we have 2 staff that support 150,000 beneficiaries. But so I know that they're very overworked folks, but who isn't, right? So, but the WIPA project is knowing that it exists, and states are doing exactly what Missouri is doing and saying, how can we provide even more information to staff all levels around this information? Ashley, does vocational rehabilitation assist plan? So I'm going to asking, does Voc Rehab provide benefits planning training? To my knowledge, Missouri Voc Rehab does not. I believe they provide referrals to the WIPA project. And if I'm inaccurate, anyone please jump in the chat box and let me know. Let's see, how do you answer when someone says they don't want to work because they are in the midst of applying for benefits or appealing or getting denied? Great question. So in that case, I prefer the individual to whip out one, so they can, well, one, I guess they have to, particularly if they're appealing, anybody receiving benefits, definitely get them connected to WIPA. But if, they're in the applying process, one, if they're under the age, so I'm thinking of various scenarios. So I continue to encourage folks, in my experience, that folks are really uncomfortable in that applying process. So let me work on some talking points that folks might use, because I think that might be applicable in various situations. All right. For appealing. And collect questions today. That would be great, just because I know we have a lot to answer separately. And then back to the core questions. Let me scroll down. And you're entering this in the correct spot. Will you please do a quick overview of Ticket to Work? Okay. Daniel, didn't miss anything. We have not covered Ticket to Work in this webinar series. I was just teasing you because Jay is going to provide you with some awesome information in regards to Ticket to Work on your on-site training. So that was just a commercial of what's to come. So please be sure to attend your on-site training, and Janet's going to give you some phenomenal information around Ticket to Work. Philip, are you able to access the second web presentation due to technical difficulties? Downloaded and listened. Can I still get credit for attending? Great question. I would think that I'm going to leave that up to Dwayne and Bianca. But I know that you downloaded it and it worked. So excellent.
We will be covering issues about the contact hours and continuing ed credits during the on-site training, and then we'll also be sending out some additional email about that. Before we conclude, I also, for those who aren't familiar with DB 101, I've brought it up on the screen, hopefully. Let's see here. I'm getting just a second. Occurring. We will bring up the DB 101 screen in just a second for folks in case they need that address. But while we're bringing that up, I do want to thank you, Ashley, for your assistance in the last 5 weeks, not just in hosting the webinar series, but also all of the time that you've invested outside of the webinar time and putting together the presentations, as well as assisting with design some additional tools and resources. Very much. And then on the screen, you should be seeing the DB 101 website. Again, if you do that address, it is mo.db101.org. And that, I'm going to stop sharing here, and I think you're back in control, Ashley.
Okay, right. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your benefits planning series and being out with you on a Monday afternoon for 5 weeks. I hope, again, that this has been beneficial to all of you, and it's been a pleasure. Please, if you want to reach out, here's my contact information. I would be more than happy. Email, phone calls, anytime. So best luck to all of you now that you have benefits information. Go forth and conquer and enjoy your training next week. Thank you.